In the dust and fire of the American frontier, long before law and order carved its lines across the land, there roamed a breed of men, both feared and revered bounty hunters. They were not sheriffs, nor deputies, nor soldiers of the Union. They were men who lived in the twilight between law and outlaw, answering only to the price on a fugitive's head and the hunger in their own bellies. In the lawless towns of the West, the madness of bounty hunting was not merely an occupation, it was a way of life, soaked in blood, gold, and desperation. The West of the mid to late 19th century was a place in flux. The Civil War had shattered the country, leaving trails of broken men who now drifted westward. Railroads cut across open plains, herds of buffalo thundered through grasslands, and new towns little more than wooden saloons and dirt roads rose overnight. In these raw places, crime flourished as quickly as opportunity. Bandits preyed on stagecoaches, cattle rustlers raided ranches, and train robbers turned iron rails into rivers of gold. With sheriffs often outnumbered and underpaid, governments territorial, state, and federal offered bounties. A sheet of paper nailed to a post, marked wanted, dead or alive, could change the course of a man's life. The bounty system was simple in theory. Capture a fugitive, collect the money, but in practice, it was brutal, chaotic, and often indistinguishable from murder. Posters seldom made distinctions between justice and vengeance. Dead or alive meant that a man's life could be ended with a bullet to the back, and the killer could walk away not as a murderer, but as a paid servant of the law. The line between lawful bounty hunter and merciless assassin was dangerously thin. Among the most infamous were men like James Killen, Jim Miller, who wore a black frock coat to every hanging and claimed divine blessing for every life he took. Miller sometimes worked as a hired killer, other times for bounties, but his cold efficiency epitomized the darker side of the trade. Another, Tom Horn, rode as a scout, interpreter, and hired gun, and in the 1890s became notorious for hunting down rustlers for cattle barons. Horn once said, "Killing men is my specialty. I look at it as a business proposition." In those words, the madness of the system was laid bare, life reduced to a transaction. The build-up to violence often began in saloons, where hunters and outlaws alike drowned their nerves in whiskey. Information was traded like gold whispers of fugitives hiding in canyons, sightings near river crossings, rumors of gangs riding under cover of night. A bounty hunter had to be part detective, part tracker, and part executioner. He learned to read horse tracks, the smudge of campfire smoke on the horizon, the hurried boot prints leading into a roar. Yet every pursuit was a gamble. Fugitives were often desperate, armed, and willing to fight to the death. Many bounty hunters never returned from their hunts, cut down in ambushes or left to die in the wilderness. When the moment of capture came, it was rarely clean. Gunfights exploded in dusty streets, bullets tearing through clapboard walls. A hunter might wrestle a fugitive into shackles with his bare hands, or, if he could not, drag the corpse back instead. Justice was measured in weight. How many pounds of flesh could be hauled back for payment? Some bounties demanded proof of death, and so ears or scalps were taken as grim tokens, exchanged for gold in a sheriff's office. The brutality horrified some townsfolk, but for others it was survival in a world where law had not yet taken root. Aftermath often left towns scarred. Families mourned their dead, whether fugitive or hunter, and cycles of vengeance spiraled onward. A brother of the slain might take up arms, forming a new gang, putting outlaws and hunters alike back on the bloody carousel. In this chaos, bounty hunters themselves became targets. They carried the weight of blood on their hands, and the knowledge that tomorrow they too might appear on a wanted poster. And yet, the bounty system endured, because it worked at least for those who paid for it. Train companies posted rewards for bandits. Cattlemen's associations offered bounties on rustlers. Local governments promised payment for killers, thieves, and raiders. Justice outsourced to the gun. Over time, however, the practice began to change. By the early 20th century, with the frontier closing and law enforcement becoming more organized, the wild freedom of bounty hunting faded. Federal marshals and agencies like the Pinkertons replaced lone hunters. Legal codes tightened, and the dead or alive clause was stripped from most bounties. What had once been a system of mercenary justice evolved into regulated law enforcement. The mad days of dragging corpses into town for gold slipped into legend, yet the legacy remains. Bounty hunters became icons of Western myth, immortalized in dime novels, pulp fiction, and eventually Hollywood. Clint Eastwood's squinting gunslinger in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly hunting men, not for justice, but for profit, was the child of that brutal history. Even in modern America, echoes linger in the form of bail enforcement agents, men and women who track fugitives for bondsmen. Though the rules are different, the spirit of the hunt, the pursuit of money through capture, still draws from the well of the Old West. Why does this story matter today? Because it shows us how fragile law and order truly are, and how easily society can outsource justice to the highest bidder. In the madness of the Wild West bounty hunters, we glimpse both the birth of modern policing and the dangers of letting profit define justice. The wanted poster was more than paper. It was a mirror reflecting the desperation, greed, and survival of a young nation. And so, as we remember the madness of bounty hunters, we remember the cost of civilization carved from wilderness. Behind the myths and legends lies a truth far grimmer, that in the Wild West, justice was often for sale, and its messengers were men with guns, walking in the twilight between law and chaos. This episode was made with care and dedication to historical storytelling. If you believe in bringing history to life with accuracy and depth, consider supporting the effort to keep these stories alive. Your support ensures that the past is not forgotten and that the lessons carved in blood and dust remain with us today.